What if there's an ancient site hidden right there in plain sight that someone once described as greater than the pyramids? And what if its modern rediscovery was actually deliberately covered up? Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into one of history's most enigmatic structures. We're talking about the Great Labyrinth of ancient Egypt, a place long thought lost. Just a myth, maybe, but whose secrets are, well, now maybe coming to light.
Yeah, and for this deep dive, we're pulling from a really fascinating stack of sources. We've got eyewitness accounts from, ancient Greek and Roman historians, Herodotus, Pliny the Elder, people like that. Then there are detailed notes from early modern archaeologists like the famous Flinders Petrie. And more recently, some pretty groundbreaking findings from cutting-edge tech, deep earth scanning, ground-penetrating radar, seismic tomography, even satellite stuff.
Okay, so our mission today for you listening is to try and connect the dots between all these different sources. We want to explore why this site captured imaginations for, well, millennia, understand maybe why its modern rediscovery faced such intense suppression, apparently, and really consider the implications. I mean, what could its full unveiling mean for our understanding of ancient history? It's huge.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start way back with the ancient voices. Imagine walking through Egypt thousands of years ago. You encounter something so monumental, it just completely redefines what you thought humans could achieve. That's basically what Herodotus, the Greek historian, experienced back in the 5th century BCE.
Right. He was famously quite blunt about it. He said, "This I saw myself, and I found it greater than words can say. For if one should put together and reckon up all of the buildings and all of the great works produced by the Hellenes, they would prove to be inferior in labor and expense to this labyrinth." Wow. I mean, that's a huge statement, especially comparing it to everything the Greeks built. He even put it above the pyramids. He said, "The labyrinth surpasses even the pyramids in grandeur."
Exactly. And what's fascinating is the detail he gives about the scale. He mentions it had 12 courts covered in with gates facing one another. 6 upon the north side and 6 upon the south, joining on one to another. So symmetrical design. And crucially, he mentions 2 kinds of chambers. The one kind below the ground and the other kind above these, 3,000 in number. Of each kind, 1,500.
3,000 rooms, half underground.
Yep. He said he personally saw the upper levels, describing these passages through the chambers and the goings this way and that through the courts, which were admirably adorned, afforded endless matter for marvel.
So this wasn't just like a big temple. It sounds more like a complex, almost a city of passages and chambers designed to be confusing.
That's the impression, yeah. And other ancients echoed this. Diodorus Siculus, a Greek historian from Sicily, 1st century BCE, he pointed out that the famous Cretan labyrinth, the Minotaur one, that was supposedly just inspired by the Egyptian original.
Ah, so the Egyptian one was the real deal, the original.
According to Diodorus, yes. He said the Egyptian labyrinth remains absolutely perfect in its entire construction down to my time. He talked about craftsmanship that left no room for their successors to surpass them. And he mentioned details like a temple surrounded by columns 40 to each side, so 80 columns per hall, and a roof made of a single stone.
A single stone roof spanning halls with 80 columns. That sounds impossible. Or is it, like you said, maybe that super precise joinery we see elsewhere, like at the Valley Temple?
That's the question, isn't it? Was it one massive piece or just joinery so perfect it looked like one piece? Either way, it speaks to incredible skill.
Yeah.
Strabo, the Greek geographer, right around the same time, 1st century BC AD, he didn't hold back either.
What did he say?
Called it a building quite equal to the pyramids, a great palace made up of many palaces. He described hidden chambers, which are long and many in number, and have paths running through one another, which twist and turn so that no one can enter or leave without a guide. The maze aspect again.
A guide okay, so definitely complex.
Absolutely. And he also emphasized the construction. The roofs of each chambers are made of single stones, and the width of the hidden chambers is spanned in the same way by monolithic beams of outstanding size. He even compared it to the Osirian at Abydos, another megalithic marvel, but called the Osirian simple in structure compared to the labyrinth.
Simple compared to the labyrinth. Wow. The Osirian is already mind-bending.
Right. And then Pliny the Elder, the Roman naturalist in the 1st century AD, he kind of puts a number on it. He claimed the Cretan labyrinth was only 100th part of the Egyptian one.
100th part. So unbelievably vast.
Exactly. And what's really interesting with Pliny is his dating. He said it was built first, according to tradition, 3,600 years ago. Now, if you calculate that from his time, that puts its origin around 3,600 BCE.
3,600 BCE. That's way before the traditional start of dynastic Egypt, isn't it? Nearly 1,000 years before.
Precisely. It hints at something much older. Pliny also mentions materials Puran marble, which is calcite or alabaster, for the entrance and columns, and Aswan granite for the rest. Big, heavy, durable stuff. And get this, he mentions lofty upper rooms reached by ramps and porticos from which one descends on stairways which have 90 steps each.
90 steps down between levels. That implies, well, significant depth, real verticality to this thing.
It certainly does, and Pomponius Mela, another Roman geographer, added that it had one descending way into it and paths that reverse their direction. He talks about it as perpetual meandering, maybe even hinting at, I don't know, shifting walls or something dynamic. It's wild stuff.
Okay, so we have these incredible ancient accounts, just mind-blowing descriptions. Where is it now? You mentioned Hawara.
That's the traditional location, yeah. In the Fayum region, near the pyramid of a pharaoh named Amenemhat III. And this is where Flinders Petrie comes in, the famous archaeologist, late 19th, early 20th century.
Right, Petrie. What did he find there? He was looking for the labyrinth, wasn't he?
He absolutely was. That was his main goal, though he also excavated the pyramid. South of the pyramid, he found this huge area, a wide mass of chips and fragments of building, covering what he described as a uniform smooth bed of beton or plaster, like a foundation level. He measured it about 1,000 feet long and 800 feet broad. Okay. It's roughly 300 by 240 meters. Huge.
Big enough to fit major temples inside, you said?
Easily. He calculated you could fit all of the temples on the east of Thebes and one of the largest on the west bank into that footprint. But Petrie, well, he assumed the labyrinth itself, the stone structure, was gone, quarried away over centuries, leaving only this foundation platform.
Ah, okay. But you mentioned he found something else, under the pyramid.
Yes. And this is where it gets really interesting and, frankly, quite dangerous for him. He decided to tunnel under the pyramid itself. He described this incredibly difficult exploration tunneling through mud brick, hitting massive granite roof blocks.
Sounds risky.
Extremely. He wrote about crawling through thick, wet mud, getting stuck, his light going out, wading through salty water. But he persevered and found a complex of massive megalithic blocks of stone, including what he called a superchamber made from a single piece of yellow quartzite.
A single piece? How big?
He estimated over 110 tons. Just massive. Plus other huge blocks, 20, 50 tons. Very precise work, similar to the Osirian he mentioned, but the water was too high. He couldn't fully explore it or confirm how it connected to that big platform area outside. It was left unfinished.
So Petrie finds this massive foundation, finds megalithic stuff under the nearby pyramid, but assumes the main structure above the foundation is gone. What changed?
Technology changed. Fast forward to 2008. An expedition called the Matterhorn Expedition, led by Louis Dordier, they partnered with Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, the SCA. They brought in ground-penetrating radar, GPR, and other geophysical tools to scan that big platform area Petrie had identified.
And what did the GPR show?
It showed something incredible. Definitive proof of a grid structure of gigantic size made of very high resistivity material like granite stone. And crucially, it was located 8 to 12 meters below the surface Petrie thought was the foundation.
Below it. So Petrie wasn't on the foundation.
He was standing on the roof. The GPR revealed this colossal archaeological feature covering several hectares, confirming it was the labyrinth, still there, buried underground. Petrie had literally walked all over it without knowing what was beneath his feet.
That's monumental. Finding the actual labyrinth, confirming the legends. This must have been huge news, right? Front pages everywhere.
You would think so. But no, it wasn't. In fact, it seems it was actively suppressed. Reports indicate the Matterhorn team members were actually threatened. Threatened with Egyptian national security sanctions by Zahi Hawass, who was head of the SCA at the time.
National security for an archaeological find.
Apparently. They were forbidden from publishing their findings. It took 2 years before the leader, Dordier, courageously just posted the paper online himself.
That's bizarre. Were they the only ones finding things?
No, and that makes it even stranger.
Yeah.
Around the same time, 2008-2009, a different team, a Polish and Cairo University geological group, was also working at Hawara. They also found ground-penetrating anomalies, suggesting big empty spaces, voids underground.
And what happened to them?
Their director, a Professor Aladdin Shaheen, was reportedly briefly jailed and then ousted from his post by Hawass.
Jailed. Okay, something weird was definitely going on. Why? Why the extreme secrecy, the suppression?
Well, connecting the dots, it seems like a really difficult political and, frankly, financial situation. You see, the water table in Egypt has been rising significantly ever since the Aswan High Dam was built back in the 60s. Lots of ancient sites are being affected, submerged. The labyrinth, being largely underground, is almost certainly below the current water table.
So it's flooded, like Petrie found under the pyramid.
Likely, yes. And probably deteriorating fast in that corrosive saltwater Petrie mentioned. To protect it, to excavate it properly, would require a massive, unbelievably expensive remediation effort. Think pumps, barriers, continuous maintenance. It could interfere with local farming, cost billions.
So announcing this world-shattering discovery without having a plan or the money to actually save it, that could lead to huge international pressure and criticism.
Exactly. It seems the decision might have been made, however unfortunate, to just pretend the discovery didn't happen. Keep it quiet until maybe a solution could be found, or maybe just indefinitely.
But you can't keep secrets like that quiet forever, especially now with new technology, right? You mentioned satellite scans.
Precisely. Despite the suppression of ground-level work, space-based tech is offering new perspectives. There's a company, Geoscan Systems. They claim their remote sensing tech can detect subsurface anomalies, structures, down to like 6 kilometers deep. They scanned Hawara.
6 kilometers, okay. What did they report finding?
Their results are pretty astonishing. They reported finding halls that are 80 meters long by 50 meters wide. Huge spaces. And that these halls and chambers are linked by giant corridors at depths of 40, 60, 80, 100 meters and beyond.
Whoa. Deeper and deeper levels, 100 meters down. That aligns with Planey's 90 steps between levels, doesn't it? Suggesting maybe 20 meters or so between these floors.
It correlates remarkably well, yeah. Multiple distinct levels plunging deep underground.
Was Geoscan the only one doing this kind of remote sensing?
No, another UK-based company, Merlin Burrows, used a different technique. High-frequency satellite images combined with geophysical activity analysis, maybe something like synthetic aperture radar, and their findings were strikingly similar to Geoscan's. They also reported vast chambers with massive walls plunging into bedrock, colossal complexes of great halls at 40, 60, 80, 100 meters and deeper.
Okay, so 2 independent companies using different space-based tech getting similar results about deep, massive structures. That adds weight.
It really does. Merlin Burrows even gave specific dimensions for some features, like an atrium of approximately 40 meters by 100 meters long, followed by a central chamber of 44 by 44 meters. And importantly, their scans suggested these deeper structures, below the initial water table issues perhaps, are likely free of groundwater and hollow.
Hollow, meaning potentially preserved, intact.
That's the implication. If they're below the main water intrusion and haven't collapsed, they might be in much better condition.
Okay, but then Merlin Burrows, specifically Tim Akers from the company, made an even more out-there claim, didn't he? About the deepest part.
He did. It's quite something. He described how all these different levels, these layers they detected, seemed to converge at a central corridor or avenue. He compared it to the atrium of a shopping mall, where you could theoretically see all the floors from one central point.
Like a massive open space deep underground connecting all these levels, and he said they detected something in that space.
Yes. This is the bit that really raises eyebrows. Within this deep central hall, their scans apparently revealed a centrally positioned freestanding object about 40 meters long.
40 meters long, freestanding. What kind of object? Stone?
That's the mystery. Akers described it as hard to classify. He said it appeared metallic, not stone or wood. And he even gave it a shape description. Tic-tac shaped. He nicknamed it Dippy.
Metallic, tic-tac shaped, 40 meters long, freestanding, deep inside the labyrinth. What on earth could that be?
Akers himself said its material signature was unlike anything I've seen in my entire career. He speculated wildly, saying it could be anything. He even threw out there a more speculative theory is that it's some kind of portal, either interdimensional or interstellar, a stargate. But then grounded it slightly by adding, but it's there, undeniably there in their data.
A stargate. I mean, wow.
No.
Okay, let's just pause on that. A 40-meter metallic tic-tac, 50, maybe 60 meters underground in this legendary structure. It sounds absolutely fantastical. But, you know, when you hear someone like Ross Coulthart talk about persistent rumors of a massive non-human craft so big and unmovable they have to build over it, located somewhere outside the U.S., you just can't help but connect the dots, can you? Could the Hawara Labyrinth, this immense, newly revealed underground complex with this object, be what he's referring to?
It's an absolutely mind-bending thought, isn't it? If you take Akers' description of dippy, metallic, huge, weird shape, unlike known materials, and then you hear Coulthart's report sourced from intelligence insiders about a massive non-terrestrial object under containment in a foreign country, well, the possibility, however speculative, that they might be talking about the same thing is staggering.
Yeah.
It would place something truly anomalous, potentially technological and non-human, right inside one of antiquity's greatest mysteries.
It would rewrite everything. Forget just Egyptian history, that's world history, human origins, everything.
Absolutely. Even setting aside the Coulthart connection and the Stargate speculation, just the presence of a 40-meter metallic object of unknown composition deep within a structure dated potentially to 3600 BCE or earlier. That alone is revolutionary. It challenges all conventional timelines and technological assumptions about the ancient world.
So, pulling it all together, what does this mean right now? What's the takeaway?
Well, the evidence seems overwhelming. From the ancient historians like Herodotus and Pliny, to Petrie's dangerous groundwork, to the GPR data from Matterhorn, and now these independent satellite scans from Geoscan and Merlin Burrows, they all converge. The Egyptian labyrinth wasn't just a myth, it's real. It's been found at Hawara. And it's vastly larger and more complex, especially deeper down, than even Petrie suspected.
And the initial discovery was seemingly suppressed, but technology is now bypassing those ground-level controls.
Exactly. The architecture itself, this massive scale, the precision, the megalithic elements, the extreme depth, it feels different. It resonates more with the oldest, most mysterious sites in Egypt, like the Osirian or parts of Giza. It really fuels the idea of a much earlier, perhaps even a lost builder culture, predating dynastic Egypt as we know it.
But it's still at risk, right? That water table issue isn't going away.
No, it's a serious, ongoing threat. The site is likely suffering damage right now. Neglect is harming it. But maybe, just maybe, with growing global awareness, driven by this remote sensing data that can't be easily hidden, perhaps there's a chance for proper remediation and excavation.
Imagine what could be learned. It truly could be the discovery of the millennium, couldn't it?
Without a doubt.
So it leaves a huge question hanging there for you, the listener. If this immense labyrinth, with potentially thousands of chambers stretching deep underground, and maybe even this bizarre metallic object at its heart, if that exists, hidden beneath the sands, what other lost chapters of our history, what other unbelievable secrets might still be out there, just waiting for us to find them and completely change our understanding of who we are and where we came from?